event details. So this came about through a friction point, which was we have templates, but we also use a single template across multiple types of events. We already have a ton of templates. We already have too many templates. We need to consolidate those. But each event had event-specific instructions or a thing to download or an app or parking instructions or check-in instructions, or we needed special instructions if they registered for, and this is going to be for an umbrella event. So there's going to be kind of these tributary events that can be modifiers like, if you come to the 10 a.m. campus tour, you park and check in these locations. If you come to the 1 p.m., you park and check into these locations. Or, hey, it snowed. We're going to add a related record to this event to trigger an email and to say, hey, school is canceled because of this reason. So these tributary events have these nuanced information that we need to communicate in the umbrella event template communications. Or it's just like, hey, the admitted student Friday this week has specific instructions. The one next week has other instructions. So we have to make sure we're updating the lead up of those communications. Like, it's Tuesday. I got to go change the template communications before next Tuesday, or else they're going to get the last event's information. And that was just a really untenable situation to have, both on bandwidth and also just could run into issues. And it was a very fragile system, and it was a very manual system. So to solve those differing communications across the same template, and to also help automate, so instead of having like a template like, oh, okay, this is a park in parking lot A, check in at building 3. So that has its own template because it has its own communications on where to park and where to check in. But then we have 7 other templates that also do all the different matching criteria of where we're having students park and where we're having students check in at. So that then brings all of those different templates into a single template, because one of your events can be just have those related records to control those instructions. So we built another data set here. It's just called event details, and very simple form here. What kind of data set, like record is this? Is it a check-in instructions? Is it parking instructions? Is it like an update, like a snow, campus closure, parking, road construction, whatever it might be? There's a parade on these days. And then the name itself is just going to be kind of a description as to what it is. So we're going to say check-in parking structure. For parking. Yeah, we can just call that structure probably. And then just add that. Do I add that? Is that something to do in the... actual name of it, or is that something I have? No, that's something I have. I didn't replicate the rules though in the clean slate. Yeah, I don't do the colon in the actual live instance, so we're just gonna do that. And then maybe for check-in, it's admissions. So we have our campus event here, our campus visit. So this is our umbrella event. So if a student is coming to campus, they don't sign up for like the campus tour and the information session and the interview and all these different pieces. They sign up through the campus visit, and they use related event widgets to sign up for the individual things that they're interested in at the individual times that they're interested in coming. So again, we're just going to add these related. So let's go parking. I need to refresh my environment, refresh my configurable joins again. Probably also it might be just because I don't have the, again, I didn't build the rule to write the name of it based off of these two fields. Okay, so this isn't how you'd build the form necessarily, but because I didn't think about having to build the rules to write the name of this, so we're just going to build a workaround real quick. I like having the type check-in as a option buttons though. So that means you're never going to get someone who like mistypes parking or says park instead of parking, or doesn't do the dash for the check-in. So I think you really do need that formalized, really rigid, structured naming convention. But for right now, because this just needs to work, this just needs I just need the actual record name. And maybe we do another one. Like a running tour. I don't think we're not an hour. There's no way we're gonna have time to, I think, get into that aspect of this project, but so at least we now have those records created and they have a name, so we can do check-in, admissions, and parking. Actually, no, I'm not. Actually, I don't know why I'm doing it in this one for. I need this to be in the tributary event, so we're gonna cancel that. So maybe the information session is what sets the check-in and parking. So if you have 3 different information sessions throughout the day, and depending on which one they're signing up for, those times might have like a default, or those times might have like, oh, we kind of rotate through that. So it could be whatever it is for that particular day. So when you're creating the events, you're just going to be adding the related records in there. And if there is a default of like, oh, okay, we always want them to have the same park-in or checking. And then if we add related records, then that needs to be updated. We'll have that kind of default functionality as well. You would just add a content block for those default, or you would have that the name of those defaults be like check-in for admissions and parking in the structure. So the umbrella event is probably where you're going to have all of your communications though. So we're going to go into the actual template here, and we're going to get into the edit mailing. So we're going to add conditions, and I will say, so the process to figure out how to do these was interesting, but now that I've done it a few times, it's definitely not as bad, but it's a little weird. So if you're not very comfortable with configurable joins, it is a little weird. Like full disclosure, that is kind of a thing. So we're just going to join to person. If this was an application scoped event, you would join to application first. And you're going to want this person scope. You could probably also do form now. Is there a reason why I didn't do forms? I'm just going to do check-in. I think I'll probably do just check-in. I won't do parking. And then if you have additional instructions from like parking to check-in, you can just build that as well. So we're just going to coalesce this. And if our check-in is just by default, that way, if there is no related record for it, then we're just going to get our default. So we're going to join to the form. Okay, I think we might be back. I think, possibly. Okay, sorry about that, folks. So we're going to be joining to our form. And then we do need to also then get those tributary events that are going to have the related records that we want to inform check-in and parking and things like that. So we do basically just need to get the event that is in the correct template that is going to be whatever it is that so in this case, it's going to be the information session that we're putting those check-in instructions in. But if you're adding things like a running tour, then you need a separate join to the specific event to get those related records. So we're just going to be doing that check-in and parking piece tonight, though. So we're just going to do another join, because this is where that person join comes in. And just say info session. And we're going to do a join form response from the person. We're not doing it to the join, because that form response joined to a form. We're not joining back to a form response. We're doing the form response from the person, because they signed up for that information session through the related event widget of this template. You could do just all events and forms. It's just a little bit easier to kind of migrate these. So we're just do form response, and you're going to have multiple form responses in your configurable joins data. So we're just going to say this subquery, so we know exactly when we're looking at the data table, it doesn't mush these two form response data tables into one. It has a separate name, so it has a descriptive name as well. And we're just going to say that the actual base itself is going to be that. And then yeah, we're going to just do another join to the form from, so we do have this separated up here, so we're going to do a join, and we're going to name this one as well, this subquery. And then we want to make sure that we're getting the proper template. The subquery, and it's information session. Oop. And then the student could, in theory, be registered for 2 across different days. Or so we want to make sure that we're also doing a comparison to make sure that the dates of these 2 events are the same. So we're going to say campus visit equals info session. And we're just going to change the comparison. And we're just do start for our 2 forms. Now, chances are they're not going to have actually the same time. So we want to make sure that the dates themselves are the same. And it's always nice to update the name of your export to specify that these are just dates and not date times. So to pull information from an information session, it has to be an information session template, and it has to be the same day of the event that we're sending this email out for. And now we can pull information from that event. And we could run a sort on that, though. Yeah, definitely need to run a sort on that. Because if they do have multiple, then you're going to want the most recent. So if they're signing up for like 2 in the future, that could definitely get a little weird. But you're having the filter for the same day, so it's going to pull the one that is relevant. But it's still nice to have the filter, the sort though. So let's be the closest one with it being ascending. Yeah, we just added start date. It's just greater than or equal to today. Okay. So I'm gonna save this. Oh, I can't save this. I need to run stuff. Okay, hopefully I don't like hit escape or something or knock out of this. So we have our information session, and we're gonna add another join. I'm just gonna get the form of that information session response. This is a form response, so we'll just name that. So we are reaching out to the information session that was, if they signed up for one through this event, basically that one. And now we also need to join to the related records that are associated with that information session. So we're going to do another subquery join here. And we're just going to call this related record data set row info check-in. And I'm just going to join related records dataset row. And we're going to do that to the information session, not the form that not the umbrella that we're sending the communication out for, but that information session that's going to have those related records that inform things like this. So, so we're going to join to that. And make that our base. And again, you kind of have limited filters. So we're going to do a partial match because the event might have multiple related records to it. So we just want the related record that is check-in. Did I use a capitalized comment? I did use a capitalized, okay. So if you have multiple check-ins, that would be weird and could cause issues, but that would cause issues no matter what. So we have our check-in here, and we're going to save. And we also want, we'll add our, yeah, we're not going to add parking. You can add parking if you want to just kind of make a copy of this, or if, again, you want to have that check-in parking cross tab of instructions, which is helpful if you have a large campus or complicated, like this is how you get from this parking to this check-in, but we're not going to do that right now. We just want this check-in name. Okay. And so this would get you that check-in piece. If you want to, so maybe you were doing a running tour, you could have a separate deliver that's sending like the waiver and those kind of further instructions. You could do those kinds of pieces here as well. And let's just give this what the content block name is going to expect. Because again, labeling, categorizing your calls into the content block are going to be very helpful if you do a lot of these kinds of content block strategies. So now anytime a student uses your umbrella event to sign up for an event, and if you have like an information session at 10 a.m., you're adding the check-in is admissions, but maybe you change that. So now check-in is going to be at your rec center or whatever it is. Then the next time they get that 24-hour reminder, or if you want to send an email blast, you are just automatically going to use that updated check-in, or if you have rotating check-ins throughout the day or parkings, it's always just going to be updated based off of what the person signed up for. So if you have 3 information sessions, they all have different parking instructions. Whatever related records you're adding to those individual information sessions is going to drive their content here. And we can just save that if we wanted to edit the message. We could just say check in. And then what do they call that field? There we go. So, and you wouldn't really need the check-in. But you could also have this driving a content block with instructions, which realistically is probably what you're going to do. But yeah, so yeah, there's some options here that you could do this with. But I think this is very helpful. So you get your park-in, check-in, you get those individualized, tailored, like I said, if you're asking students to download an application or directing them to download a PDF that's a URL on your website, you have the flexibility of adding these related records to those individual events that then drive your tailored communications and your template comms.
Remain. Rare keeps working after the flame.